Geese are back with this album Getting Killed, which offers a classic rock jam band feel in a way that doesn't sound derivative, given its tendency to build upon itself instead of just repeating a specific chord progression or riff in the same way every single time, and their commitment to not sticking to a verse chorus song structure or really any traditional song structure for that matter. The band also does not take itself too seriously, most notably in Cameron Winter's droll croon vocal delivery, which adds just a matter-of-factness to the tone of the songs and the lyrics, as well as an overall attitude, especially on songs like Taxes, where he says, "If you want me to pay taxes, you better bring a crucifix, because you'll have to nail me down." Many of these songs start off with very sparse, disparate pieces that don't feel entirely cohesive until you're a little bit further into the song and more instruments have been added and you can really see kind of how the grooves are coming together. Which seems to be the main emphasis of a lot of the songwriting here, is just kind of building through a particular chord progression or riff, either by building up into a transitionary section, which will often pull the rug out from under you and lead you into a section that is very different tonally or dynamically, or it'll just build to its logical endpoint of having a very busy, frenzied groove in the climax. And while I wouldn't say anything on here is through composed and that nothing is ever repeated, all the songs do offer kind of a journey through this jam-based style that they're building up. On some songs that last up to half its runtime, or for example on Islands of Men, which uses its entire 6-minute runtime just to build up this mid-tempo groove into an optimistic and hopeful climax, with the lyrics repeating, "You can't keep running away." The title track also uses most of its back half to build a groove from the ground up, starting with a drum and bass groove with some very sparse guitars over it, and then adding in more percussion, then the vocals, then busier guitar parts and busier bass parts, before bringing a full choir back in at the end, which was present a little bit at the beginning of the song. And all of this, I think, works best and is most highlighted on my personal favorite track on the album, which is the closing track, Long Island, Here I Come, which basically divides its 6.5-minute runtime into two separate 3.5-ish minute crescendos, both centered around this disorienting 7-bar phrase with just a really awkward chord there in the middle to add to the disorienting nature. This one also builds to the most busy, the most frenzied climax of the whole album, and is not only a great track in its own right, but also a very strong closer for the album. And while the way they build a lot of these jams is for sure a highlight, I think for me the most impressive part of the songwriting, the most important part of the songwriting, is really just the way they play with phrasing. Like on the opening track, Trinidad, which is another highlight for me, where they're playing with the phrasing more in the sense that they're using a 13/8 time signature. And what you could consider the chorus of the song where he says, "There's a bomb in my car," which definitively says where the downbeat is and kind of resets where you thought the rhythms were and where the groove was, and makes the 13/8 time signature seem surprisingly natural. Overall, as someone who liked their last album but did not love their last album and was not necessarily looking forward to another album, I have to say I really came around on it. I found myself listening through it several times over the last week. I think it's a very strong album, and I am looking forward to more of what they do in the future.